Okay, so we left off yesterday talking about liquid penetrant inspection, and what I want to do is go over the basic visible penetrant inspection, which it also translates into some other stuff too. But so visible is type 1 or 2. Most of you know that already. Type 2, okay.
Type 2.
Hopefully. So we have type 2. So what we did is we cleaned the part, we applied the penetrant. We did what after it was applied? We'd let it dwell. It has to sit on there for a while, all right? So at least 10 minutes. I believe it's 10 to 120 minutes max. Are we waiting for it to dry? No, we don't want it to dry. All right, it's got to soak into that crack. So penetrant soaks into a crack, we wipe off. Now, when I say wipe it off there, if we're using, and we'll get into all the different methods, but if we're using the chemical method, the solvent remove, I should say, not chemical method, solvent remove, then we're going to use a solvent to remove it. So it is, we take the solvent, right, and we spray it on here.
Nope.
No, why not?
Then you're just going to spray out the cracks.
You're just going to spray it out of the cracks. You know why you spray it on. I think I told you guys a story about the mechanic I worked with who was NDT, and tell him that's cracked, and he just drenched it in solvent until it runs out of the crack. So you do not spray the solvent on here. You wipe it, and you do where the procedure is dry, then wet, then dry. We wipe it off, and you can't just keep wiping. Like if I'm over there, what are you doing? I'm wiping, man. He keeps coming out of this crack. Okay, it's supposed to come out of the crack. To me, that's part of the inspection procedure. Part of the inspection procedure is while you're wiping, you're actually looking at what's happening. And if you've got a crack indication that keeps bleeding back out at you, that's a crack. Stop. Right? Just because they say the inspection starts later, I don't count that. Inspection starts the minute you walk into the booth and you put your NDT hat on. That's when your real inspection starts. So if it starts seeping back out, it's a crack, I'm done. Okay, so we wipe, dry, wet, dry. And then we're going to apply developer. So we're going to take a developer, which is white. Here, I'll click the white over here. So there, I sprayed white. So developer is a contrasting color, usually white. And we're going to put some developer on. And that acts as a blotter, which pulls out the dye. And it also gives a contrasting background. So like if we were doing something that had a very dark background, we have red dye, this is going to give it a white background on red dye, makes it more visible. And it's part of the process. So that will pull it out. Some procedures say put the developer on and then wait 10 minutes. I don't like to do that. Well, I do, but you have to be careful how you do it. I don't put the developer on and then walk away for 10 minutes, go on my coffee break, come back and go, well, how'd you do? All right, because what happens is if you do have a crack, it seeps out of that crack and makes a huge mess. And then now you're just looking at this giant stain going, well, I don't know why that stain's there. So what I do is I put the developer on, and well, first I'm inspecting it before the developer. I put the developer on. I inspect it as the developer goes on. I stay there and I watch it and I look at it. And you can usually tell in the first 2, 3, 4 minutes if something's going to pull out. If I don't see something in the first few minutes, then I'm not going to get some giant stain, but I'll leave it for the full 10. Maybe I'll look at something else, come back to that, and see if anything is pulled out and started to develop out. So I do give it the full 10, but I don't just wait 10 minutes and then look at it, because that is going to make a mess of things if you do have a crack. And then you have to do the process all over to find out where the crack was.
So when you apply the penetrant, for smaller cracks, it takes a little bit longer to actually seep in.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like in the same with the developer, is that maybe it takes a little bit more time for the developer to actually pull out?
Yep, everything. The smaller the crack it is, the less penetrant you have, the longer it takes for everything. So that's why you wait that time frame. And again, a lot of times if you're not an NDT tech, you're doing this with spot check, just proving a crack that you've already suspected, already seen. If you're actually doing penetrant inspection where you can't even see the crack, you really have to be good at what you're doing or you're going to miss something. All right, so we did definitions. We had that. What do we got? Basic operating principle. A lot of this is going to get rather technical, but that's just what it is. So, all right, how you like blue? Basic. Basic operating. All right, so first thing is what?
Clean.
Right, part is cleaned.
Have a crack in the part.
Part is cleaned. And we know that cleaning the part, there are do's and don'ts. So we're not going to use heavy grit media such as glass, sand, garnet. We can use soft media if we want. Plastic, walnut, baking soda. Wire brushes are a no. Wire brushes, wire reels. Sandpaper should be out. Anything that's going to peen over a crack, bad. Does the paint need to be removed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, remove the paint on this one. Okay, then penetrant is applied. To the part. To the part. Penetrant is allowed to sit. Allowed to sit on the part. Sit on the part. That is called dwell. The dwell time. And seep into the discontinuity. Into discontinuity. All right, then penetrant is removed. Penetrant is removed. We're going to get into all the different ways penetrant can go on, how it's removed. Oh, you can talk about that now. So penetrant, go back here. Penetrant is applied to the part. How many different ways can we apply it?
6.
Okay.
Lots. We have
Spray.
spray it,
Dip it.
dip it, brush it.
Pour it.
Well, if you're going to whip it good.
Really good.
Spray, brush, pour, submerge, which is say dip, yeah.
Oh, Steven.
I kind of lost track. So those a lot of different spray it, brush it, pour it. There, as far as spraying, you can get it in aerosol cans. You can put it in a like a sprayer. You can put it in a bug sprayer with the pump on it.
Thinking more
You can, put it in a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Okay, a super soaker.
Yep.
Sure. It'll ruin the O-rings in it though. Okay.
Still NDT it.
All right, so let me see. Penetrant to sit. See, penetrant is removed. The removal process is going to be dependent on the processor you use to put it on. We'll get into that later. And we talked a little bit about, even with the method C, which that is, with the solvent removed, it was, if it's a solvent removable, it's towels, dry, wet, dry. Developers applied. There's many different types of developers. We're going to talk about that. And then part is inspected. Part is inspected. And in between some of these, we could add some stuff depending on the process. We could add dry time, depending on what we're doing. Another dwell time. And then indications are evaluated. Oops, it's just two eyes. Indications are evaluated. Hey, some of you were kind of with me today as we were doing some different parts. Evaluation's difficult, isn't it? It's not easy when you're making that call. Well, okay, am I going to reject this several $1,000 part or call it good? If I reject it, somebody's buying a part. And if I'm wrong, they're buying a part for nothing. If I don't reject it and it is bad, then I did the bad thing and somebody could get hurt. So there's a lot on there. All right. So what makes a good penetrant? A good penetrant. Must have 5 qualities. Before I tell you those qualities, I will tell you the first penetrants were used in the railroad industry. They used dirty oil. So anybody has a diesel, you know what the oil is like coming out of a diesel. It is
Black.
It is like ink, and it does not come off of anything. I don't think there's any way to get diesel oil out of a driveway. But
Yeah, but they'll sell you ways that they think.
oh, I know. So anyway, the first NDT was done with under the railroad. They used oil, so they would let stuff soak into oil, that dirty, nasty oil, and that oil would soak into cracks, and then they would use like a talcum powder, would wipe it clean, and then use a talcum powder. So you just had a black indication because it was black oil. So there we go. And so from that we can say, okay, what is a good penetrant? Well, used oil seems to work just fine. So here we go. So all right. So we got setting the standards low, but standards have gotten pretty high here. So high wetting ability. No joke.
Nah, I figured you're in enough trouble.
Well, I can't get in trouble for what you say, unless you say it to do. Depends on who you say it to. All right, high wetting ability. That means a low contact angle. Low contact angle. And what that means is if I take a look at, if I have a plate and I put a drop of liquid on there, if I got a liquid that sets like that versus a drop of liquid that kind of sets like this, that's two different things. All right, so this liquid right here, change color to red, has a very high contact angle. That's going to look like that. That's pretty high. So what you're doing is you're picking up the tangent off that. As where this one right here actually has a very low contact angle. So this one is good. This one is bad. So you don't want a penetrant that's going to beat up and sit on top of something. Like, I don't know, mercury?
Yeah.
You guys play with mercury? So, not anymore.
Had it on my hand.
Ruin it.
I tried.
Okay, this one here actually, when I first learned about it, it seemed counterintuitive. High surface tension. So it should have a high surface tension. And so my first thought was, well, wait a minute. If it's got really high surface tension, doesn't that mean that it's going to want to bridge over a crack? But really, the opposite is what happens. So if we talk about surface tension, so if I take a cup and I fill it full of some liquid, what does it do at the top? Climbs up the side. Okay, that's high surface tension right there. And I could even take and put a straw in here. And if I have good surface tension, it's actually going to climb up the straw, and the level is going to be a little bit higher here. So that's good surface tension. So that is where we get this capillary action. It wants to climb up stuff. It wants to fill in the gaps. It wants to go into the cracks. So we do want a high surface tension, not low surface tension. We've got to have high surface tension. High surface tension. We know. So, and that's to create good capillary action. Good capillary. Good capillary action. I can come back around to that one too and add some more stuff. Just get the big ones here. Three. Slow drying. Why do I want it to dry slow?
So it can go out and see the crack?
Yeah, it's got to dwell. It's got to sit there and not dry. Got to wait for it to seep in the crack. If it dried right away, like some sort of paint, it'd be like, well, it's not going to run. It's not going to run. Just going to sit on top and dry. Low viscosity. So what does that mean, low viscosity? Not thick. So syrup. Syrup, high or low viscosity?
High.
Syrup is high, honey is high, water is low. So again, you want it to be runny.
That way they use the used motor oil because it's lost its viscosity.
Maybe because it's what they had, it was dirty. I can just imagine they kind of discovered it by accident. But I don't know. I wasn't there.
Someone probably spilled it when trying to clean it up.
Hey, there's a crack.
That looks pretty good.
I know. I spilt it. What are you gonna do? Put some dust on it. Put some white powder on it. Nobody will notice. Well, how come this line keeps coming back? Guess what you just discovered? And high flash point. Why do I want a high flash point? Well, what does flash point mean?
Blow up.
It ignites.
It's when it ignites. It'll flash, it'll ignite, but not continue to burn. That'd be the fire point. So high flash point, it'll flash. Doesn't necessarily need to keep burning, but you really don't want this stuff lighting off on you because you stick it in an oven that's going to be around 160 degrees. So it'd be good to not have it catch fire on you, I think. All right, so let's see. High wetting ability. We can come back around to that. So what does high wetting ability mean? Well, I kind of already explained it. That is, but I'll give you some more notes. This refers, D. D is high wetting ability. High wetting ability. One of my dogs has a high wetting ability. All right. This refers, this refers to the contact angle of a drop of liquid. Good penetrant has contact angle less than 90 degrees. And that means a bad would have a contact angle of more than 90. So what if it has exactly 90?
It's in the middle.
I don't know. It's right in the middle. All right, I'm going to scroll up for a minute. And remember, this is what I'm talking about. So this is this angle right here. That angle versus this angle. So this is 90 degrees. We go straight up. So this is more than 90, so it is bad. This is less than 90, so this is, because here's 90. That is very good. So that's my wetting ability. Why do you need to know that? I don't know. You don't get to make this stuff, but this is what the level 1 and 2 tests are like. They ask you these kind of questions. High surface tension. Let's see. Well, I could go on too far with this one. I'm just going to tell you. Do I have to tell you? Here we go. Factors in surface tension are the factors of surface tension are cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion is the act or property of like molecules sticking together. So like molecules sticking together. And adhesion is the tendency of dissimilar particles or surfaces to cling together. So that is dissimilar. Sticking or clinging together. All right. So this actually has a function in how you treat your dwell time. And it explains why we do something that we do. So if you just kind of thought about it and thought, what would be the best way? If I have a part with some sort of crack and I want to get penetrant into that crack, what would be the best way to do it? Would I take it and put it in a tank, put it down at the bottom of the tank, and let it seep in that tank, or would I simply just dip it and bring it right out and let it start draining?
Yeah, dip it and let it sit
Outside the tank or in the tank?
outside the tank.
Why?
I would think inside of the tank.
I would too. Think about it. I mean, what's going to force it in the best? Well, put it in the bottom of the tank. let all that pressure from the tank kind of come at it, right? In fact, if you thought about it more, you'd think, well, hey, maybe I should get the part really nice and hot and open up that crack, take it and put it down in the penetrant as soon as I can, leave it in the penetrant for as long as I can. It's not going to dry. The pressure from the penetrant's going to put it in, but we don't do that, do we? I told you specifically.
If you get it hot and dip it in there, then you kind of bake it to it.
Okay, so get it hot. You got to be careful with that flash point. So that's a bad thing. And for those of you that have done the penetrant, you know what I told you to do.
Take it out and set it there.
Take it out and set it there. Don't leave it in.
Get all the residual off.
All right. And there's a reason why I did that. So, and again, it's one of those things, it's counterintuitive to what you would think actually works. So it actually works better to not do that. So, I think I have a picture. Let me see. No, I didn't get a good picture of this one. So I'll just have to explain it. All right, so surface tension is the cohesive forces between liquids and molecules are responsible for the phenomenon known as surface tension. So if I say the cohesive forces, is that like or dislike? Okay, so the cohesive forces between liquid molecules are responsible for the phenomenon known as surface tension. The molecules at the surface do not have other like molecules on all sides of them, and consequently, they cohere more strongly to those directly associated with them on the surface. The surface water molecules are also attracted to the side. I'm just going to get too wordy with this, but this is kind of the way I learned it. So again, back to the little cup. And the way I had it explained, it made sense to me, is we have all of these like water molecules here, and they're all alike. And so they kind of have sort of a tension that attracts it in all different areas. So there's no real major tension on if I stick a part in here. Maybe it has a crack in it. So there's no, this molecule that's sitting here on the surface doesn't have any special attraction to that because it has equal attraction to all the other ones around it. Okay? But if I come up here to the top of the cup, I have air up here, and so these molecules, they don't actually have enough pull going down. They tend to have, well, maybe I'm not explaining it that well, but they tend to have a pull going up because of adhesion, the dissimilar, and so they want to go up. So what that poorly worded way of what I'm trying to say is, when you pull it out of the tank and you let it drain, you get this effect here on the surface. Because if we look down here at the surface, the molecules aren't doing this down here, right? It's actually filling in all this. There's no pull up. You get the pull when you get near the surface when you have dissimilar molecules up here. So that's what's happening on the part. When you take the part out of the bath, you actually create this surface tension all over the entire part, which makes the penetrant want to run into the part. Hopefully that makes more sense. So. Yeah, the surface water molecules are also attracted to the side of the container. Adhesion, this causes water to climb up the side of the cup. This is what I wrote. So the molecules at the surface do not have other like molecules on all sides of them, and consequently, they cohere more strongly to those directly associated with them on the surface. However, the surface water molecules are also attracted to the side of the container, adhesion. This causes the water to climb up the side of the cup. The rising shape is called, you guys know this, don't you? Meniscus. Meniscus. Therefore, high surface tension, high adhesion, causes capillary action of the flow of fluid against gravity. This will become an important point. We discussed leaving the part submerged in a tank, which we just did, versus letting it drain. So, all right. I think I can skip some of this. Slow drying. Why do you want it to be slow drying? Yeah. What if you let it dry on the part? Now, I've worked with technicians who started NDT stuff, and it's time to go, and they're like, well, you're in your dwell time, you're draining. You'll be fine till tomorrow. No, I won't. Yeah, it dries on the part, and then now you've got this stuff that's dried on the part, and so you've got to rinse it, and then you get dried penetrant in the crack, which is going to hinder your inspections. So you don't let it dry on there. That's really a bad thing. Yeah. All right, where can we use liquid penetrant?
Porous.
Liquid penetrant. Liquid penetrant can be used on any non-porous material. Now I say any. You have to make sure that whatever you're doing it is compatible with the penetrant, because the penetrant is an oil base, and some things don't like it, so you have to make sure that it's compatible with that. Why not? So what's porous? Give me an example of something porous. Wood is a great example. What else? Sponge. That's what I was thinking. Paper. Okay, that's an example of porous. So why can't I dye penetrant on a piece of wood?
It's gonna soak up and just not.
Because it just, or a sponge. Why can't I do it on a sponge? It just soaks all the dye in, and then you can wipe all day long. How are you going to get the dye out of the sponge? You're going to get it out of the wood?
Throw the wood out and get another one.
That's right, yes. How do you throw it? That's a good one. How do you get the dye out of the wood? You throw the wood away, buy a new piece. There you go. So can't do that. So if it's porous, if it is porous, where am I? Porous. There it is. Porous. The part will absorb the penetrant and give false readings. Kevin, this piece of wood is so cracked. It's unbelievable.
That means don't do that, Christian.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a piece of wood and gone through the whole process and looked at it under the black light just to see?
No. But you know that table in the classroom that we're working on? You should peel up the bevel and see what it looks like underneath that.
Pretty bad.
Well, yes, because what people used to do is they would take butcher block paper and lay it down on the wood table and do their penetrant inspection. So what did the penetrant do? Went through the paper into the wood. Had to hit the paper, spread out, then went in the wood. So little drops became big drops. So that's why I got the metal and put it on top of there. Examples. Examples of, I don't need to do this, but oh well. Porous material. So we had wood, sponges, unfired ceramic.
So it still has a job.
I was thinking about that. Didn't make a bad McDonald joke. Didn't work with Christian. Okay, so what are some examples of things we can use penetrant inspection on? Fired ceramic. What? What?
Plexiglass.
Plexiglass. You can do plexiglass. What else?
Metals.
Huh?
Metals, right?
Metals. What kind of metals?
I thought you said what else?
Ferrous metals?
No.
Non-ferrous.
Why not?
Well, yeah, you could do ferrous.
Absolutely.
You can.
I don't want to, though. Why do I not want to?
Magnetic
Magnetic particles faster, easier, and I think better. So, okay, but I could do ferrous. What about non-ferrous? That's the whole point. So aluminum, plastics. So pretty much anything that has what? That is non-porous and has a discontinuity that is, there's what? Near the surface. And we should add in the part really can't be too rough. What happens if the part is very rough?
Pain in the ass to
Majorly false indication.
Yeah, well, either you're going to get false indications or you're going to spend so much time getting the penetrant out of the roughness that you're just going to wash the crack clean. So there becomes that problem.
Always good to have a clean crack.
He has a gift of making things sound so wrong.
You have a gift of making it wrong in your own head. There was nothing wrong with you said. All right, penetrant classifications. All right, so penetrant can be divided up into two basic types. And I could actually cross it out and put 3. So many books say 2 that I went with that, but I'm going to add a third one, so just because I can. So 1, type 1, which is fluorescent. Fluorescent penetrant. So anything that is fluorescent, meaning I need a black light, is a type 1. I could write that. Uses a fluorescent dye that is visible under a black light. And what color is it?
Yellow.
Bright green. Bright green. In fact, if I had the black light with me, we turn off the lights. Most of us here are a little bit green right now. There's a whole lot of, yeah, Stanetta made fun of me for why are you wearing that white lab coat? I'm like, oh, let me show you. Type 2. What is type 2? Visible.
No, that just means you have to take a pill.
Visible. Visible dye penetrant. Visible dye. Uses a bright visible dye. Usually red. Like a blood red. This is red. Red. I ran out of room. Red. All right, there is also a type 3. I have never used or seen type 3, but it is both fluorescent and visible. Yeah, it really that's just what you do. You take type 1, type 2, put it in a container, shake it up, and there you go. It's it's perfectly fine. I'm always worried I'll remember to tell you something, so I tell you too much at once. Okay, so we'll just cover it anyway. So one of the things about type 1 versus type 2, number one, type 2 is not for aerospace use. It does not have a sensitivity level. It is, I've read in somewhere things it's about a sensitivity level half. So 4 being the most, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is half. The other thing is if you test this part with visible dye, you sort of ruin it for fluorescent penetrant. So there's a lot of text sheets that say don't use visible dye before fluorescent. If you do use visible dye before the fluorescent, consider the fluorescent inspection null and void, because the visible dye, some books say that it ruins the fluorescence of the fluorescent penetrant inspection. Other books explain it more with the fact, and this makes more sense, if you have a crack, and some of you, now that you've actually been working on some of these parts, especially the red dye that we've done over and over, I hand it to you, say clean it, you're like, well, the red dye won't stop coming out. That part is saturated and filled with red dye. So if I have a part that's saturated and filled with red dye, I take it over to the green stuff, I dip it in the tank, let the dwell time happen. Is the green going to go in? No, it doesn't. So the green doesn't go in, and then I take it under a black light where I can no longer see the red, and I'm looking for something that's fluorescent, and I don't see anything. But if I had a white light, I would see a bunch of red coming out, but I don't have a white light, I have a black light, so I see nothing. So it's okay, I don't see a crack.
He had Steve clean the part, then he just washed it all out.
I did a good job.
You did a good job.
Clean.
I was just making sure you're here to defend yourself. And you're awake.
I've already got
So,
one really crappy day thing.
today?
That's the only one?
Oh, sorry you had a bad day.
I
What's that? Hey, don't pick on Steve. You had a bad day.
almost won the lottery.
You almost won it?
I left the lab early thinking I won. I was
How
shaking.
close are
in
you
the
thinking is close?
It was like, so I won, I took.
Did you have 12 and?
I feel